Hello, coaches. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. My name is Kim Cafino, and I have worked with hundreds of teachers, coaches, and leaders in schools around the world to help them create thriving and sustainable instructional coaching programs. And I'm on a mission to help you coach better. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. Come learn with me in one of our courses or private mentoring packages designed specifically for instructional coaches. Join our global Coach Better community, ask any questions you'd like to hear us answer, and find all of our resources for instructional coaches on our website at coachbetter.tv. You can also find us on social media at Eduro Learning or in our Coach Better Facebook group, and you can subscribe here to our channel on YouTube to catch all of our latest videos. Today, I am chatting with Jordan Benedict, one of our research team members at AAICIS, the Association for the Advancement of Instructional Coaching in International Schools. Jordan is also a learning coach at the International School of Kenya. Jordan and I are both so excited to share with you the results of our first landscape study of instructional coaching in international schools, conducted by the AAICIS research team in March of 2024. There are so many interesting findings that we think will resonate with you, and we'd love to hear your thoughts after watching or listening to the episode. Please leave a comment below or on the show notes for us so we can hear what aligns with your thinking and experience and what diverges. In this Spotlight episode, we're focused on the reported reasons for establishing a coaching program and the outcomes of those coaching programs. In the full-length audio podcast episode, we go into the background of where the research started, how we conducted the study, the primary findings, and what we think schools and coaches can do with all of this new data. To listen to the full-length episode, subscribe to Coach Better wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, if you want to read more about the results from the landscape study, you can download the white paper at aicis.org/whitepaper. If you're ready to start thinking about the development of your coaching program with this big picture lens, with this research in mind, stay tuned to the end of the episode for another great resource to help you get started. Okay, let's jump into the conversation.
Yeah. And then I think we now, and this leads right into the next findings really well, is so should more of these schools actually be leaning towards instructional coaching, right? The ones that are, should they keep the course? Should they continue to strengthen their instructional coaching programs? And those that are new to it, or those that are prioritizing these coordinator roles, are they missing out from some of the benefits of instructional coaching? And so what we asked schools were two things: why did you start an instructional coaching program? And what are the observed benefits of your instructional coaching program? For me, it's really important to link those two results, because did what we intended to have happen, did it happen? And this is where some of the interesting findings come in place, because my brief answer to that is, did what we intend happen? The answer is sort of, right? There are some changes between what people observed and what they intended. And so I'd love to walk you through what people intended first, and then we can walk through what people observed. And so it seems that the most intended reason why people create instructional coaching programs was to support the training and professional development of individual teachers. So that was far and away the biggest reason that we saw that people started instructional coaching programs. The next most reported reason behind starting instructional coaching programs was to target specific school-wide goals and initiatives, right? If you're implementing a new curriculum, or if you have a specific strategic focus for the year around technology and innovation, let's hire a specific type of coach for that. The third most popular reason was that it was somebody's personal initiative, like a leader who saw value in instructional coaching or had experience. So less around looking for a specific benefit, but that a specific person believes there was a benefit. The third most reason for starting programs was to improve student learning outcomes. Sorry, that was the fourth most. And then of the top five was the fifth most stated reason for starting programs was curriculum development support. I think what surprised me on this list, I would have, of course, thought that professional development and supporting individual teachers was our first intended reason for starting instructional coaching programs. I was surprised that student learning outcomes was fourth on the list. And I was also surprised that curriculum development was fifth. I would have thought that program development and student learning would have been right up there with professional development. Do you think for you too, Kim?
Absolutely. I'm surprised student learning wasn't first. I've been talking about the power of instructional coaching to sustain professional growth for years. And I've been specifically talking about that because my assumption was everybody knows that coaching is for student learning. And so now I see maybe I've been sending the wrong message that it's like really about supporting training. And it obviously it does that too, but really the reason why we're all in school is to support student learning, right? And coaching gets us there by helping the teacher be a reflective practitioner and grow and develop in their context, right? So the student learning is the baseline, and then on top of that we've got all these other pieces. And so that, yes, that was very interesting to me.
Yeah, it was interesting just to hear that that wasn't people's intention in starting
Right.
an instructional coaching program. But now I'll share with you like what did people observe. So if that's what
Okay.
they intended, was professional development first and curriculum and student learning is fourth and fifth. I'm not going to say last. There were other reasons too, but those were our top five. So there was a little bit of a change in our top five. So actually, still at the top was supporting the training and professional development of individual teachers as the observed benefit. So people intended that, and and they observed it, right? But second was one of our biggest surprises because it was barely a blip on the radar for the intention, but ended up being the second most reported benefit was impacting workplace culture. So this is people didn't intend for coaches when they developed the program to have such a positive effect on school culture, on school working culture, but yet that was the second most observed benefit by our respondents. Um, Third was curriculum development, so that had bumped up. More people observed it than had reported that it was intended. Student learning outcomes was still fourth. And what I dropped to the bottom was school-wide initiatives supporting that. Of course, we lose the one about somebody's personal reason to start coaching because what would that benefit be that they got a raise? I'm not sure. That one drops off the list. But I think what I really liked about this list is if I'm designing instructional coaching programs, if I'm considering it at my school, the observed benefits of these respondents tells me that I would target instructional coaching program if I wanted to improve the professional development of individual teachers and teams, and if I wanted to positively improve workplace culture. Those would be two benefits that I would likely observe, and that could be part of my intention behind starting a coaching program.
And then I love that you highlighted the point that the second most positive outcome or most observed outcome was impacting workplace culture, because then what happens when we make that an intentional purpose behind developing the coaching program? I know you've heard me say a million times that coaching creates a sense of belonging or a sense of community, builds collective efficacy, all of these things. And that all leads to improving workplace culture. Like giving time and space for people, respecting and valuing their opinion, looking at our colleagues as if they have something to offer, and really valuing their own professional growth. How can that not impact workplace culture in a positive way? And so this was an unintended outcome. But what if we intend for that to be the outcome? Like, what if we put that, we bake that in? Like, this is part of what we want to have come out of this work. And I think that would be very powerful because it happens without trying.
Yeah, and I might even suggest if there are schools where teachers feel initiative fatigue, or if they feel like workplace morale and culture is trending the wrong direction, instructional coaching programs from our respondents is something that turns it the other direction.
Oh, I love
One
it.
of my taglines I say to the school that I work at is that as an instructional coach, if they wanted me to create more initiatives and get more done, they would have called me a coordinator. But because they called me a coach, what they intended me to do was to work side by side with the work that teachers already know they need to do. And so I think that's one of the ways that coaches can really impact workplace culture is that a coach supports the work that people already identified needs to be done, and it helps them work side by side to make it meaningful, attainable, and sustainable. One thing I
Absolutely
might
beautiful. Thank you.
is, of course, one thing I might add is why student learning is both a lower intended outcome and a lower observed outcome. And if I'm going to take a hypothesis on why it is, I think it's around our measurement. Like, how do I measure as a coach that I've affected student learning? I think that's one area that we also found in the research, and I don't quite have the numbers in front of me, but that people struggled at how to evaluate the effectiveness. So they could observe these benefits, but like to what level were they effective and how effective are our coaches is an area of challenge across our international schools. And so I think it's not that we don't want coaching to improve student learning outcomes or that it doesn't. It's perhaps that we're struggling to know how to measure it. So one of the things that I really recommend to schools is that coaches should own learning or student learning data the same way a teacher does. So if I work with a K through 5 math team on implementing a new math curriculum, I will judge my coaching effectiveness by how that student learning data changes over the implementation that I'm supporting, right? So that would be my recommendation to schools is how can coaches, if you're not observing student learning growth from coaching, is it because you're struggling to measure it? And you can work on ways to measure it, such as coaches owning the student learning data of the initiatives and teachers that they're supporting.
Yeah, I mean, this is the next question that comes up, right? When people hear those results and they say, oh my gosh, it didn't impact student learning. What does that mean? And you gave a beautiful reason for why we might consider coaching for a reason we might not have thought about before, like if we feel initiative fatigue or we feel workplace culture shifting, then coaching we know is going to have a positive impact. So that's a great intervention, right? But schools that are expecting to hear that student learning improved and see that that is not what our findings specifically showed are like, oh no, what does this mean for coaching? And I think you hit on the important point, and something I talk about a lot is coaches have to be intentional about measuring data around their work. Like they have to take the responsibility for that. And I think it's very understandable, normal, natural why that is hard and something that we don't normally like step into doing. It's not something that we think about in the classroom, like I'm measuring my impact. No, it just kind of happens as part of the way we do our, testing, right? And assessments, summative, formative, all those things. But coaching, you don't have that natural process. So you have to take the initiative and get it done. And I think if schools are expecting those results to just be immediately apparent, this data shows us that actually it is not immediately apparent, and somebody has to take, just like you said, ownership over that. And in this case, the only people that have the time and capacity to do that are the coaches themselves.
Yeah, and doing it through systematic ways too. And I know we're going to touch on other ways that we can use the research, but I have a couple more results I'd love to share with you too.
Please. Thanks for watching this clip with Jordan. It is so amazing to have some recent data to work with when we are seeking to understand the complexities of instructional coaching in an international school setting. If you haven't already watched or listened, you might also really like this recent episode of the show, Navigating the Complexities of Instructional Coaching in International Schools, which I'll link up here and in the show notes for you. As experienced international school educators, we know that international schools are not just public schools in another country. We have our own very unique set of considerations and conditions that make the already complex work of instructional coaching even more complex. If you are ready to think about your coaching practice and program from this big picture lens, and you're curious about embracing your leadership as an instructional coach to see the ways that you can scale your impact, make sure to watch our free workshop for experienced coaches, Scaling Your Impact as an Instructional Coach. You can find it at edurolearning.com/scale. After you've been coaching for a few years, you know that embracing your leadership is essential to your success. Building a coaching program requires that you shift your mindset from seeing yourself as just a coach to seeing yourself as a leader, so you can create and advocate for the systems and structures that make coaching sustainable for you as an individual coach and for your coaching program in your school. Watch the workshop at edurolearning.com/scale. And if you discover that you need support as you go through this process, join us for our next global cohort of Coaches as Leaders, our course designed for experienced coaches ready to advocate for and build the systems and structures that are needed to truly sustain a coaching culture. In Coaches as Leaders, we'll help you recognize exactly which systems and structures you need and might be missing in your school setting, so you can make your coaching culture sustainable, and you can scale your impact beyond working one-to-one to working with teams and groups. Registration opens only once a year. Get all the details at edurolearning.com/CAL. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. If you are curious right now or you have questions, please reach out. You can leave a comment down below or on the show notes at our website at coachbetter.tv. You can join our Coach Better Facebook group, or you can find us on social media at Eduro Learning and send me a DM. I'd love to support you on your coaching journey. See you next time.